Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We have a special show today on a pretty ugly subject, and we'll get to that in just a bit. Actually, it's fraud and scams. Awareness is key. And we have great guests today, but before we get into the subject, we would like to just join the thousands and thousands of Americans and people from this nation, and I'm sure abroad, who are mourning the passing of Congressman Ed Pastor. And I think it caught us all by surprise, and it's unbelievable, but it did happen. He passed away, and I would like to read a statement by AARP Arizona, and it reads like this. AARP Arizona is saddened by the passing of Congressman Ed Pastor, who died on Tuesday night. Pastor was 75. Congressman Pastor will be remembered for his commitment to his family and his legacy of service to the community that he loved, the state of Arizona, and the nation. This is a devastating and tremendous loss to the Hispanic community. Congressman Pastor was a role model for effective, inclusive, and community-building leadership in Arizona and across the nation. AARP Arizona honored him by including his portrait on our mural situated on 7th Street, a bit south of Roosevelt. May he rest in peace. Thank you very much. Before, let me introduce our guest, and by all means, feel free to add anything. I think this is a sad moment, a difficult moment for the state and the country. To my left, I have Diego Santiago. Diego Santiago works for Telemundo. Diego, thank you very much for joining our show.
No, thank you very much for inviting me, David, about the passing of Mr. Pastor. Personally, in my 6 years here in Arizona, I never had the chance to meet him, but all the people that I've spoken to have said nothing but great things about the man. You can tell without knowing him that he had an impact, not only in the Hispanic community, but in Arizona as a whole.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
To my right, we have Lucia Arteaga. Lucia works for the Attorney General's office, Hispanic Outreach Coordinator at the Arizona AG's office. Lucia, thank you very much. I know you just came back from, what is it, Anthem?
Yes, Anthem.
You just came back from Anthem to give a presentation actually on fraud and scams, and I really appreciate that you made it back.
Absolutely.
On time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me,
Yes.
and condolences to Mr. Pastor's family.
Definitely. You know, it's very interesting. AARP sponsored the Los Diablos, ASU Los Diablos event on, I believe it was the 16th of November. And we were at Pascantina, and he was there. He was just there. His wife was honored. And after I gave some remarks, I was taking pictures, and I remember literally taking a picture of him and his wife and another gentleman. And he basically, I think he was about to take a bite of some, and then he stopped and just kind of posed, to take or paused to take the picture. And I have it. It's unbelievable how things happen, but regrettably, it's a fact of life,
yes.
And we just have to accept it. And again, like you said, our thoughts and prayers with the family.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Let's move on to our subject. And I said earlier, every time we address fraud and scams, I have to say that this is a horrendous subject to address, because sometimes you wonder, how in the world can there be people who make it the mission of their lives to defraud other people of their money? And it is unreal, but again, another fact of life. And let me go to you, Lucia. You work for the Attorney General. Can you help us understand the function of the Attorney General in Arizona, and what sort of things do you deal with on a daily basis?
Okay, well, I can tell you a little bit about what I do. I'm in community outreach, and we go all over the state doing presentations, and some of those presentations are related to scams. Actually, it's one of our most popular ones, aside from internet safety and bullying and other things for kids. But the reason why we talk about scams so much is because anyone can relate to it, right? Anyone can become a victim, regardless of education or background or really anything. But we have a section in our office called Consumer Information Complaints, and people who suspect that they have been a victim of fraud, they can report it to our office. They can make a complaint with our office, absolutely. And, even if they think it's just maybe fraud, we still suggest that they do it because they have nothing to lose.
Right. I asked you off the air that if you were a millennium, and I think both Diego and yourself are considered millennials, right?
Yes.
And I was wondering, you are so technologically savvy, quote unquote.
Well,
not everyone.
Speak
perhaps.
for yourself. 'Cause
Right.
I'm not the best,
but still, you're consider that generation that is everything. You want everything online and everything. Diego, Lucia, are you familiar? Are you aware whether this segment of our population is also being hit, and if they are fallen victims of scams and fraud?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we usually see seniors, right, being vulnerable, and they really are a big population that are victims of scams, unfortunately. But we're seeing nowadays more and more millennials being, victims as well. Like you mentioned, we're really into technology, but unfortunately, there are bad people out there that also use that to their advantage.
Wow.
It has facilitated a lot of things for them to scam people. A lot of people do online shopping, especially around the holidays. We just had Cyber Monday, but something that I'm sure you guys have noticed, it's not even Cyber Monday anymore. It's Cyber Week in a lot of the
Right.
in a lot of
Almost
the
Cyber
sites.
Year.
Cyber Year,
or
absolutely.
like Black Friday that starts on Thanksgiving Thursday. It should be
Right.
called Black Thursday.
And obviously, you make a little comparison here between the younger generation and the older generation. And we have to believe that the younger generation are hit more with this cyber form of scams, whereas perhaps the older generation, I'm sure that they also get hit online, but perhaps this is, maybe by mail, by an email, by a text, or even in person. Diego, I am very, very interested in asking you about Telemundo Responde, because I see you all the time.
Thank you.
I watch the news, and because I'm in the community educating, I have to educate myself first, and I really appreciate what Telemundo is doing on that. I'm sure that you get a lot of calls. Can you help us understand this program, when it started, and then the sort of the scope of calls? Because you once you give a number, people will call you, right? And I'm sure you've gotten tons of calls. And can you kind of help us understand what the program is about?
Well, I think Telemundo Responde, and I got to say this proudly because it's one of the few things where our sister station, NBC, they actually copied Telemundo Responde.
Really?
And now they have their own.
Not the
other way around. So that's one of the few things that I'm proud of that Telemundo was able to do first before
Did they
NBC.
selected you, or you
No.
raised your hand and wanted
I
to
got to
do
explain. Responde is, each station has its own Responde, or the bigger markets. I am in Arizona only, but each station has their own. What happens is, I think the necessity when we saw people getting scammed, or even if there are misunderstandings in contracts or promotions that are not being respected, stuff like that. And there wasn't really, other than the Attorney General's office, but there wasn't really somewhere where people can go to and try to solve this without getting legal personnel involved, right? So I think this is where it's born. Telemundo Responde. Overall, nationwide, it's millions of dollars that we've recovered. Personally, I've been in charge of this branch for 2 years, and locally in Arizona, we've been able to recover about $85,000 for the Hispanic community. And I think it's just a wonderful thing. Can I give the number out?
Of course.
It's 855-327-5829. Now, it is in Spanish, but we help everybody, and every
Because
person
you
gets a
speak
callback.
English.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, you'll be the one getting in touch with people.
The phone number, you leave your name, your phone number, and a brief description of your message or your problem.
Right.
No matter what the call is about, every single person gets a call back.
Right.
And that's a commitment from Telemundo NBC. It's just depending, not everybody we can help.
Right.
But even if we can't help you, we can give you a referral.
So you
or a number.
call them, let them know, you know what, your problem is this, this, and the other. We
Either,
really can't help you. We need to refer you to
somebody that might help you.
Okay.
You get a call from one of our producers, or even me. I would call personally the people.
Has there been times where you feel that the Attorney General perhaps needs to get involved? Or
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of cases where I have the same issue with different types of people, and I tell them, you know what, I think all of you should get together and go to the Attorney General's office.
Right.
It's unfortunate because our community doesn't really understand the job of the Attorney General's office, and I think what Lucia is doing is about the Hispanics to know that this is a tool for them to claim also these type of frauds.
And maybe language perhaps.
Exactly.
You know, if they don't speak English, they may think that they don't have a Spanish person there.
Exactly.
But now they have Lucia.
Yeah,
So
and
great.
I think part of it too, and maybe you can help kind of close that gap, is that they are afraid because we're a government agency that they think
Right.
that we're going to be asking for immigration status or
Right.
anything like that. But you know, our Attorney General, he has made it clear actually on a show once that you know we don't care your immigration status. You know, I'm the Attorney General for all of Arizona, for everyone. We just want to know who scammed you, or we want to know your case. We want to know.
Right.
We want to be able to help you.
Thank you. Stay with us. We're going to go on a short break. You're listening to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. The subject today, fraud and scams. Awareness is key. Awareness is key. And monitoring.
Absolutely.
We could have easily named this show Monitoring is the Key, because it's going to be difficult to avoid the scammers from doing their thing, but we just have to be alert, be informed, and we have to monitor our accounts. And we are going to get into those issues. Diego, I wanted just to ask you if you can be if you can let us know more specifically what are some of the complaints that you get on those phone calls.
Literally, it's all types of complaints. We've had issues with big companies, with frauds, break of contract, workers that are on the field that are not being employed by some entity, but by a person, and it's all under the table. Mm-hmm. We've had romantic relationships that were a fraud, business partnerships that became a fraud. Right now, after the show, I have to drive to Tucson to interview a lady who we helped recover $4,000 from a gift card issue in a big company. I don't want to say names because it was resolved. Right. But, you know, it just shows that you can be defrauded by anybody. Literally by a person sitting or standing right in front of you to a person on the other side of the world calling you from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nigeria, or even Mexico. I mean, there's different types of calls. So that's why people got to be cautious of all these frauds that happen regularly to everybody and from anywhere in the world.
You know, I want to say that obviously I work for AARP here in Arizona, and AARP National has a very important and robust work on fraud. We call it the Fraud Watch Network. There is a website that you can visit, aarp.org/Fraud Watch Network. And just today, we posted something, or we did a post on a fraud scheme that is happening, and we posted it on AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection, which is our Facebook page. And this is ridiculous because in the past, this is called spoofing, I believe, where they can literally make the number that appears on the caller ID show whatever they want, literally. And in the past, I was aware that they can show the area code where you live, so to make you believe that it's a local number.
Right.
But the new thing that just happened today, and that was reported by the Social Security Administration, is that they can literally make the actual number of the Social Security office
Right.
appear on the caller ID. That is ridiculous. So it's easier for people to fall. I think you told me, Lucia, that you had learned about it. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so we actually received a call from a constituent. We also have a public number where people can call us in case they have any questions, even related to scams. And this lady told us that she was scammed $3,000. Someone called her. Her caller ID said it was from the Social Security Administration.
Wow.
So she there was some red flags. She did call, but she didn't get through. And then when the scammer, the one who was, just impersonating the Social Security Administration, called her back and asked her, hey, do you have the money? Which, she unfortunately, she did go out to the store and put money into a gift card or she bought a gift card. And that's the number that, she gave the guy who was impersonating the Social Security Administration.
Can you let us know what are the forms of payments that scammers are going to traditionally or typically ask people to use when they ask them to send them money?
Well, there are some scams, like the friends and family scams, for example, where people call you pretending to be, a family member. They usually ask you to wire money. Because it's fast, right? And the other way that we've been seeing a lot lately is gift cards. Go to the store, grab a $500 gift card, and then because all they have to do is scratch the number in the back,
right,
and then give that number to that person who's calling, and then it's done. It's automatic.
Right.
They could do anything else with that money. So it's really hard to trace as well.
Right, and that's the idea that they're coming up with new ways to make it less traceable. Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the not so high tech scams. This typically would happen by mail. Maybe somebody walks knocks on your door and they perhaps offer you something, or maybe you can get a call and tell you that the utilities company is going to close your service because you haven't paid and this and the other.
What about in person? I mean, I've had issues where people tell other victims that supposedly they have won the lottery, but they are not citizens, so they can't claim the money, so they have to go with them. Can you go with me? But you just got to give me a check, and I'll give you the money.
In person, they do this.
Right, they've done it in person.
The lottery from another country, which is actually illegal
exactly, from another country. So supposedly they can't claim it, so they bring their people or the victims along thinking they're going to get a huge chunk of money. I always say this. If you win a raffle, a lottery, or anything that you haven't even participated or know about, it's probably going to be a scam, okay?
Right.
You have to know what you're participating.
Right.
Nobody's going to call you and say, hey, listen, I won a lot of money. Just give me a little bit and I'll give you more.
Right.
There is no such thing. And that's usually done through phone, now through email, through mail, and even in person. So that's why you got to watch out.
And, as much as we realize that online is dangerous, I believe we can say that it's safer. In spite of what the people might think. For instance, some people are hesitant to bank online, to make payments online. And it's interesting that even though all these schemes are happening, it's safer.
It can be. It just depends if you know what to look for. So, for example, like you mentioned, monitoring is key, right? Or awareness is key. And that is true. If people would just make it a habit of checking their accounts all the time, they would be able to find if something was purchased without their authority.
Waiting for the monthly statement.
Absolutely, correct. And I mean, that, like I said, that is key. But like you were mentioning earlier, impersonating in person also. I believe Mr. Brnovich just tweeted out not so long ago about Maricopa flyers. They're, not really from Maricopa County, but people are believing them. Right. So it's just a lot of different types of scams, not always high tech, like you mentioned. Sometimes it is just face to face. Right.
So here the idea is that if you do paper banking, you're having to wait for a month to get a statement. Whereas if you do online banking, you can go into your account any you want. I thought I was doing good by going every week or every 2 weeks, and I learned from someone who is an expert in AARP that he says that he goes to his account once or if not more than once a day.
Wow.
That's like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that you can monitor as much as you want. The other day, I actually asked my wife, because she typically manages and monitors our accounts online, and I said, dear, have you checked the accounts lately? I said, at least in the last week, and we were not so sure. So you kind of become, you get this feeling of you better check it, because once you check it, and then sometimes when somebody steals your credit card, they may charge a small amount, like $1 or $2, just to see if you catch it. And then once you don't catch it, then they go for the bigger amount. And a lot of times, like for instance, when I travel to, say, California, and I'm going to load gas in California, I get a text message from my company.
Yes.
Did you right now make this purchase? And then you just text us as yes, and then there you go. So again, this is the basic stuff. And another thing that we want to make sure, because if you handle mail, the recommendation is to buy a shredder, correct? Because there is a tendency to just drop the stuff that comes in the mail in the dumpsters or the trash can. And there are literally people, they call it dumpster diving. Yeah. Can you imagine people who dive into the dumpsters to pick up mail? And I mean, we have to be careful about that as well, correct?
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned shredding, and yeah, that's a good idea. But people also need to make sure that they're using the right type of shredder.
Right.
Not shredding one that is just vertical. There's actually have cross-cut shredders, because there has been research made that they find out that these dumpster divers are actually putting these pieces of paper together just to get their information, and they're still able to do that.
And can I add to that?
Of course.
Well, now the dumpster diving, it could happen, but I think now the crooks, I'm going to call them crooks, if they,
they're even criminals. I mean,
Yeah.
they're bad people.
they're so blunt that they'll ask people their personal information,
Right.
and sometimes people are naive and they give out their personal information over the phone. So
Over
I
the
think
phone.
you don't need to be careful of your trash
Right.
so much as stop giving your information over the phone, especially social security number or something like that can be used for identity
And
theft.
let's address this matter. Social Security, Medicare, IRS typically do not call people. They're just too busy to be calling people just for anything. Am I correct?
Yeah,
in
the
that?
government's not going to call you. For example, we get a lot of calls, people telling us that the IRS called them, right? Or jury duty called them, but it really wasn't them. They were just asking them for money. They were telling them, you didn't pay your taxes, or you didn't show up to jury duty, so now we have a warrant for your arrest. But that is not true. If they really need to get a hold of you, they're going to give you a call. I mean, I'm sorry, they're going to send you something in the mail.
In writing, of
Yeah,
course.
they're not going to call you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you both a question? Do you own a computer at home?
A laptop.
A laptop?
Yes.
How about you?
Computer, yeah.
Okay. Because that's another thing. The younger, generations, they use a phone, and that's it.
Yeah, that is
And
true.
then sometimes you don't even use a TV anymore. You what is that called? Streaming, right?
Yes,
Right.
Live streaming and stuff. So okay, so it can come in the form of mail. So be careful. And another thing that I always tell people is don't just leave the correspondence, the letters, the mail just anywhere, especially if you're going to have people over your home.
Right.
Because with the smartphones these days, it only takes a couple seconds to take a picture. And if you have information that has, say, your Social Security, maybe you have a bank statement there, it's very easy to just take a picture. So we have to be very careful. If someone's coming over your home, just put things away.
Yeah.
So
Good recommendation.
yeah, the trash, make sure you shred. And then in the internet, have you ever, because it seems to me that it's easier to this type of scams to come through email on your computer. Have you ever gotten something on your smartphone? Anything that looks suspicious?
Oh, yeah. So right now there's a text going around and it says, oh, hey, someone has a compliment about you. Just click on this link. And that comes in through text messages.
Wow.
Yeah. So one of our coordinators, she actually called Phoenix PD to ask what it's about because some people were thinking that it was related to human trafficking, that once you click that link, it actually tracks exactly where you're at. But this officer from Phoenix actually told us that it's not really related to human trafficking, but it's more that you click on that link and then they're able to get information from your phone. And they're able to kind of, get that personal information because how many people have personal information on their phone?
Right.
A lot of people have almost everything on there.
Right.
So absolutely. So it can come through text messages. It can come through an app as well. There's, for example, millennials, they get scammed as well using just like Instagram, Facebook. They have messages from people. They say things like, oh, do you want to make $2,000 easily? All I need is so-and-so. Yeah.
So they're basically a request to provide personal information.
It can be, yeah.
Right.
And they'll make it enticing
Right.
with anything.
Really
Either you
enticing.
win the lottery, or there's a gift card that you want,
Right.
or you have a problem with your computer.
Yes.
Before this, when I was younger, I received a call too like that, and I really panicked. I'm like, what's
Because
wrong with my computer?
Yeah.
They
And-
do targeting.
And because they have such access to the computer that I had received a notification seconds later before the call.
Amazing.
And when they said they were from Microsoft or something
Wow.
like that,
Yes.
they're really elaborate, some of these guys. Some of them are not, but some of them are. So that's why you got to watch out and be careful.
Thank you. Let's go on our second break. Stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection, addressing fraud and scams. Awareness is key. Let me make a quick announcement. Starting in January, we are going to add a second show during the week. So we'll be on Tuesday, same time, 1 to 2 p.m. in Spanish. And then on Thursday, we'll be the same in English. So spread the word, and to get all the updates and information, you can follow our page. We have a page. It's called Facebook page, AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Let's move on. So with online banking and paying bills, do you do that? You're millennials, right? So let me ask you that question. Do you, Diego,
I
that?
do online baking, yeah.
So you don't? Did you go paperless?
Well, you know what? I actually, when it comes to mortgage and car payments, I actually like to go to the bank and give a check.
Okay.
But most other smaller payments, I do online, yes.
How about you, Lucia?
Everything online. It's just so much easier, more convenient, because personally for me, if it was paper or having to go to the store, there would be late fees just because I would forget. So I do everything online. But when I do go online, I always make sure, not only just with my bank, but when I'm making some sort of purchase, I make sure that the address on the top has HTTP S for security.
All right,
And-
let's repeat that, because to me that is very, very important.
Absolutely.
I have noticed that when it doesn't have the S and you type in information, the letters that we recognize appear there. But when you use the S, if the HTTPS appears, and when you type in your personal information, it basically hides, especially certain information. Is that the main difference?
It's very different what you're talking about. What you're talking about for when you're typing something in and it automatically
the
pops
encrypted
up.
piece?
Yeah. So the second part that you're talking about is actually on your computer, on your browser. If you want your information to stay on there, you can put that. But what's popping up on there, that does not mean that the website that you're using is able to look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with them.
Got it.
But on the other side of that, like I was mentioning, people need to make sure that when they're putting personal information, especially making a payment, that it needs to have an S after HTTP. Sometimes it has the whole bar is in green, and sometimes there's a lock as well.
So the security piece, how does that translate to in terms that I can understand?
Okay, well, it just means that they have that company has bought a certificate making it safer to use.
So they implemented more security
Absolutely,
mechanisms
yes.
to kind of filter everything.
Exactly, which is why, especially nowadays, during these 2 months, people are going to be making a lot of online shopping.
And by the way, go ahead and, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I mean, you wanted to cover that.
I do.
Go ahead.
Because I personally love, I do a lot of online shopping.
Okay.
And sometimes I actually buy a lot from like local shops, right? So before I buy from them, I make sure that they have a certificate. Sometimes your computer, if you have certain like a virus, like what is it called? Sorry, my husband, he's an IT guy, so he would be so mad if I'm butchering this right now. But sometimes the websites actually tell you if it's not secure, and you can click on the top of it and it tells you that it does not have a certificate. So that is the good thing about technology these days. Even if you're not sure how to interpret it or not sure what exactly it means, just make sure that it is secured by knowing that they have a certificate. Again, for normal people like us, as long as we see that it's in green, that means that they have that safety security.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's important, especially if you're going to be given information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I add to holiday shopping? This Monday was Cyber Monday, a record $7.9 billion in sales. But you know what yesterday was? Yesterday was the National Day of Protecting Your Packages. It was a day created for awareness because, yes, most people get their gifts on Cyber Monday, on Monday. Wednesday is when 40 million households yesterday received a lot of packages. So another type of theft or fraud is those, I think they're called pirate porches.
Pirates, something like that. Pirate port.
Where they go and steal
Isn't that
your
amazing?
gifts. It's a different type
And
of
it's on
fraud
the
or
news.
theft.
It's in the news a lot.
And you know what the authorities, the biggest recommendation also is your neighbors.
Yeah.
Talk to people, neighborhood watch, create that, help your family and help your neighbor's family. And if you see something suspicious reported, technology, cameras, it helps, but that helps to capture the person once they steal your gift and you don't have it. So it's better to prevent before you're sorry. Right?
And I believe that when you place orders, you have the ability to say that if you want somebody to be present and sign as opposed to just being dropped. I believe you have that option.
Well, and I believe there's a limit. If it's an expensive gift, I think by law is a requirement to have a signature before they drop it.
Because I'm expecting a new computer actually from my work, and it's going to be coming at a day that I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
So somebody has to be there for signature.
Right.
And I'm trying to find somebody to be there because I can't be there. But
And sometimes, that tracking number that the company gives you, you're actually able to, you have the option that you can pick it up from like FedEx or USPS. But if you are receiving a lot of packages and you are worried about it, we do suggest try to be at home. I know it's difficult, but if you are worried about it, just try to be at home or because here's the thing, there are people who actually follow these trucks and are just watching when they're dropping them off just to pick them up right away.
It's pretty crazy.
It is really crazy. Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about passwords. Because passwords, I believe, is so important. And the recommendation I have heard many, many times is to change them periodically. I come from using very basic stuff, just the maybe something related to my childhood, a kid's name, address, dates, birthdays, and I moved away from that. And I now develop a system where I do not try to memorize my password. I have to write it down and safeguard it, but use all kinds of weird stuff. And what can we say about that, the password issue? Because I believe it's a big issue for many of us.
It really is. And let me just put it this way. My husband, like I mentioned, he's an IT engineer, so it's all about security. His passwords are actually 27 characters long. Wow. So that just tells you that that's how...
He probably doesn't even know... obviously he doesn't remember them.
No, he doesn't. Right. But he uses something else. It's like a keyed padlock where he goes into that. It's just another layer of protection, that he gets copy and pasted afterwards. But again, he has to log in and put in his protected password. So it is really, really protected.
A password to get a password.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, but that just tells you that you shouldn't be using the same password for everything. It should be long and very almost encrypted.
Elaborate.
Right?
And even some companies now require you to have a pretty complicated password where they say you need a capital
they kind
letter,
of specify
number,
that, right? They
character.
Right.
So that they're making their rules also.
We know this has been in the news as well, and the concept of skimming. These are devices that are placed primarily in gas stations. Yes. Nobody knows. You go in and insert your credit card or debit card, and they basically read your information. I think that's also very prevalent these days, right?
It is, and unfortunately, it's not just when you put a card into, like when you're at the gas station or a store, but there are people who actually carry RFID readers on them, and they can just be, a
Get closer to you?
a few feet away from you, and they can be taking all your information from your purse.
Right.
And we actually have a program with our office called the Senior Scam Alert Series. So it just has like a bunch of information on scams. And when people signed up, we were actually giving them these magnetic like little credit card sleeves in case there is someone around them that has an RFID reader, because it's made out of magnet.
Right.
Their cards are going to be protected. Right. Yeah. So that is one way that people can protect their cards, is having a wallet that is made out of magnet. Yeah. That can really help.
Other simple recommendations. If you see that the card part of the gas station is broken or loose, or there's something wrong with it, report it and don't use it.
Yeah.
It might have been tampered with. Also, a simple recommendation is when you enter your PIN number, cover your hand. Simple. My mom taught me this about 20 years ago, and I still do it.
A camera or
camera or somebody standing behind you just looking, you can never know. So those are simple things that you don't need technology to accomplish, and that will definitely help you in the long run.
And sometimes we pick the pump that is practical to you, but it may be too far, and it lends itself for that kind of device to be inserted somewhere. So another recommendation could be to pick the pump that is more like visible and closer to the, or go inside and pay. Right?
Yeah, and pay cash. Because let me tell you, I have seen so many videos of people, going into a store, even a big store or a gas station, and these scammers are actually putting the devices when no one's looking to the scammers inside the store, right? Ooh. So if people don't want to pay cash, we do suggest to use a credit card instead. Credit cards have another extra layer of protection.
And we have a minute for this segment. Let's address that, because I think there's misconceptions. I think those of us who kind of deal with these issues, we understand that credit cards are 1,000 times better than debit cards. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So it takes, if someone wants to steal your information using like your debit card, which is, your money directly right away. If you were to report it to your company, to your bank, it's going to take a lot longer for you to get your money back if it was just your credit card.
Right.
So, people who are in a budget or who have everything, written out with their budget, they're going to need that money. Sure, they're going to get it back maybe in 2 months, if that, right? But that's why it's safer.
Less protections. It takes longer to get it.
Plus, they can wipe you out of your money if you use a debit card.
They're tapping directly into your bank account. So bottom line, it is not recommended if you can avoid it.
And it also depends what bank you have. We had a caller not so long ago tell us that they tried reporting it to their bank, and they told them because it was their debit card that they weren't going to stop the charges. Yeah. So again, just make sure that, you are in agreement with the mission and everything that your bank does, because they're all different.
Yeah. We have to go on our last break. Stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. We are addressing fraud and scams. Awareness is key. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. I'm your host, David Parra. And with us, we have Diego Santiago from Telemundo and Lucia Arteaga from the Attorney General's office. It's been a great conversation. I believe that even though we're, addressing many, many issues, I think it's good. People need awareness is the key. So we're making people aware. Let's do another area, and that is Wi-Fi. I mean, these days, most people have internet at home, and then they set up a wireless network at home so they don't use their signal, especially if they don't have unlimited.
Right.
But then when you go out, and you're out and about, you're always looking for that free internet, right?
Absolutely.
Especially if you have a plan that has no data. And what are the dangers of logging onto wireless networks that are unsecured?
Well, unfortunately, there are people at coffee shops. For example, there's a lot of people who like to go to coffee shops to either do homework or just relax or surf the web or do some shopping. But the Wi-Fi that they're using, because it's free, it's a public Wi-Fi. So you never know exactly who else is using that public Wi-Fi. There are actually people around there that know what they're doing with the computer. They know how to hack into their, I'm not sure exactly what the term is, right? But let's just say into the internet. And if you are making a purchase using that public Wi-Fi and this scammer is into that system, they're able to get that information. So if you are using a public Wi-Fi, just make sure that you're just doing,
Internet browsing, Facebook, social media, but not getting into your accounts.
Yeah,
I
would just do like general things. Don't make any purchases. Don't put in any personal information when you're using public Wi-Fi.
And it can be difficult. I got to personally admit, I do log into the Wi-Fi if it's available. But I have a friend who's very technology savvy, and he will not log into any Wi-Fi unless it's extremely secure. Otherwise, he goes without internet. I wish I had that power or the will to go out without internet.
Character, that discipline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just got a text message from someone, and it says, so it's safer to make purchases with debit or credit? I missed that part.
Well, we suggest using credit card just because if someone, was to steal your credit card or your bank account information, credit card companies, they have a better fraud department that are more on top of it. They know what to do. They can actually, someone from the fraud department can actually talk to you and help you through the process. The one with your debit account is it's a little bit more difficult because it's your money, and sometimes it's kind of hard to prove, right? It's kind of hard to prove, like I mentioned earlier. The constituent who called us in, their bank wouldn't stop the purchase, even though she told them, "Hey, this is a fraud. Please help me stop it." They wouldn't stop it.
I think in simple terms, because I've talked to a lot of bank people, and they always say, in case of a fraud, it's easier to recover your money if a credit card was used.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's simple terms.
Exactly.
And obviously, using a credit card, you're spending somebody else's money. Where you're using your debit card, you're spending your own money, and if anybody taps or gets your information, they're going to tap into your bank account. That's very logical to understand, plus the protection. So if anybody, sometimes people don't like credit cards, but the interesting thing is you can still use the credit card and pay it every month, and you will not incur in any interest. So that is something that we can do. We have a few minutes, and I would like to say something about the credit reports. That I as much as I've been saying this a lot, but I don't think it's picked up traction. We understand that there are 3 credit bureaus, right?
TransUnion,
Experian, and Equifax. Okay, thank you. And by law, they are required to provide a report once a year. So if someone was to get from one company one report in 4 months, get it from the second, and then on the another 4 months. 4 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would get it from the other. That's the whole year. So you basically can be. Now, I signed up. I got my first PDF, my credit report in PDF form. But after the first one, I have not gotten back to get my second. Shame on me, right? But I set it up.
Yeah.
My point is that it is so critical to get the credit reports, because anything, if somebody's has your Social Security, because most of the times the Social Security is used for that, to open credit, or could be used to open credit under your name. So credit reports, anything that you want to add on credit reports.
No, like you mentioned, everyone should, make in the habit of getting their credit report at least 3 times a year. And that's a misconception. Sometimes people think that it's just 1 time a year, but they're forgetting that there are 3 companies. And it's important because sometimes you may not even know that you're a victim of fraud, that you've been a victim of identity theft. But checking your credit report will tell you all the accounts that you have open, and you can check on there to see if there's a balance, if it's overdue, or if you really authorize those accounts. If you suspect something on there that you're not sure what it is, then I will call it in.
Now, so you can see the magnitude of this situation. Even Equifax was a victim of data breach.
Right.
Literally, like half the population of this country was affected somehow.
Right.
So nobody's safe. So if Equifax can be a victim, you can be a victim too.
Right.
So you always got to keep that in mind, right?
Go ahead.
Sorry, real quick with that. What people can do nowadays is actually put a credit freeze on their account.
Mm-hmm.
Before, if they weren't a victim, they had to pay money, but now they don't have to pay. It's free.
So credit freeze means what?
So it means that, including yourself, you're not able to open another line of credit, right? But you can easily call in and have them unfreeze it so you can, get that mortgage loan or whatever it is.
So we have mentioned the credit reports, and now you have mentioned the credit freeze, where basically no one can get credit with that or for that Social Security number.
Because if you've been a victim once, it's very likely that you're going to become a victim again.
And then there's also the concept of fraud alerts that you can also do. I want to come back to a very important point, but let me just mention other scams, types of scams, that the fake check. Sometimes when you buy maybe on Craigslist, they might send you a fake check, and be careful with that.
Yes.
Don't believe when you get a call and they tell you that your computer is infected with viruses. It's just a scam. They have no way of knowing that. When there is a disaster, some people open up shop and start soliciting charity gifts. Be very, very careful with that. Do all your your research before. The sweetheart scams. A lot of people feel that they can find a mate online. Be very careful with that. And then the travel scam. Sometimes you're offered discounts that you're going to get all these huge discounts on. Be very careful. The grandparent scam, where they call you that your grandkid has been abducted. Well, actually, the grandkid is apparently calling you to ask you, hey, they're in trouble, they need money. Be very careful with that. But let us go back to one, perhaps the last one that we might be able to cover, and that is investment fraud. I believe, especially the Latino community, are hit hard with investment fraud. What can we say about this fraud?
I've had plenty of cases where there's hundreds, maybe thousands of people only in Phoenix area that have been affected with investment fraud, where there are people who take advantage, and usually they take advantage of the underrepresented or the undocumented people that don't have maybe a lot of education, that have saved their money for many years with hard work. And these people just come and tell them, oh, you invest $10,000, $20,000, I'm going to give you $50 in the long run. And they do it. And that's such a crime, because you're literally ruining people's lives. So, and we had a recent case where I think the Attorney General also was going to get involved, and that's jail time for the people that get caught, because that's almost as bad as killing somebody, because you're ruining somebody's life.
Here's the thing with that. People, what's so difficult about some of these investment scams is that they're trusting sometimes their family member. They're trusting someone who has maybe like an education because they're an attorney, or maybe they're even a pastor. So they put all their trust in this person, right? And sometimes they even say, give me so much money and I'm going to give you, like you said, multiple amounts, right? But in Bitcoin money. And they think that's
Bitcoin. I don't want to open Pandora's box, but like you said, Pastor, I've had issues where even some churches are involved in this fraud. So be very careful of everybody in your community.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Always remember that with every sort of scam.
Yeah, and let me just say that for investments, they usually will ask you for fees in advance. They're going to charge you something. They may promise you big gains, which is really not factual, because we understand the market. It doesn't yield too much.
Yeah.
Be careful with gold coins, and then getting rich right away. Be very careful. Ask questions. Don't fall for it.
Can I add one last one real quick? Also, with now charity and donations, GoFundMe sometimes.
Yes.
Right.
Some frauds are Some charities are fraudulent and they're not true. They're making up stories. So be careful who you donate to. Also.
Right.
And don't forget that sometimes that money, maybe it's intended for good purposes, but they might keep that money at the end, which there was something like that on the news.
And with the foundations, let's also keep in mind that even with those that are legitimate, they also keep money for administrative, right? So not every dollar that you give to a charity goes to the actual cost for which they are soliciting money. So that's another thing that you can ask.
Yeah.
Let me just mention some things. There's a concept in our work that we do with fraud and scams called ether. And ether is a heightened emotional state. So basically, the con artist will always get you excited. They will profile you. They will know already what sort of things you like, and they're going to profile you. They know what you like, and they're going to promise phantom riches. They're going to give the sense that you have to act now. The scarcity tactic. They're going to tell you, you got to act now. If not, the offer is not going to be there. Those are all tactics that we have to be very careful. They may use fear and intimidation. And then sometimes they will use source credibility. That means they're going to pick somebody from the industry, the Hollywood, quote unquote, to promote something that may or may not be good for you. So that is called source credibility because those kinds of people have a lot of influence. The influencers, as they call them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's conclude. We have about less than a minute. What would be your last final remarks to end this show?
I think for me would be if it's something that looks too good to be true, it probably is. So just be careful with in person, with cell phone calls, with emails, regular mail. Just beware.
Yeah. Always have your guard up. And like you mentioned, it could be either someone that you really trust or it could be a really big company, like maybe car dealerships. We think that because they're really fancy, they're one of the biggest companies. But just to put it this way, we actually had a settlement and with Volkswagen. So we're in the process of mailing out like $964 checks to consumers that were victims. So just have them, people can always file a complaint with our office.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed. This is all the time we have for now. This was AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Have a great day.